At this time, I'd like to invite to the stage John Blackburn, Zanzar's Executive Vice President and Head Digital Commerce, to discuss how we can all start to reimagine retail.
All right. Thank you, Julian. We are going to spend just a little bit of time on sort of what our point of view about retail looks like. But it's really more, I think, about any of these consumer businesses, whether you're in the telco industry, you're in the consumer goods industry, whether you're in anything that is touching a consumer, is really being disruptive. I want to talk for a little bit about what some of that transformation looks like. What are some of the things that are going on in the marketplace, and then a little bit about what we're trying to do with some of our clients about how they're addressing their digital journeys as well. So the thing that we're really seeing, right, is this Amazon effect, and everybody's talked a little bit about Amazon today, but I don't think you could argue that any industry has been as disrupted as retail and consumer as by Amazon in the last several years. I mean, I've worked in and around retail companies for the last 20-odd years, and even was with Amazon for doing some project work with Amazon in 2002 and with them and Target. And at that point in time, Target could push them around, and they were just an annoyance more so than anything else. But in today's world, Amazon is so dominant in the online space where we've even seen during our Black Friday in the US, that weekend they sold 40% of all goods that were sold online went to Amazon. And it's an absolute change where you look at any other industry, and any other industry that could say that they've got 40% of the business running through one company in one channel. It is absolutely disruptive to the rest of the businesses. And so what you see is a lot of that shift is occurring, and of course then all the stores are underperforming. And all these retailers have too much real estate space. And you see a lot of it being shut down, you see a lot of it being turned into showrooms. And then the only place that you see growth is in the e-commerce business. So one good thing about what Amazon has done to retail is it has shown everybody how to buy online. So we have a chance, when we think about the e-commerce business, you do see good double-digit, you see good double-digit growth in that space. But even more so what you find is because of the online business and the lack of any real barriers to entry, there's almost no differentiation that you can find in price, product, promotion. Everybody can sell essentially the same stuff. They're running similar promotions. Pricing is relatively comparable. And so it creates an environment that's exceptionally challenging and is exceptionally competitive. And it's always been competitive, but in this digital space, I think what you find is that it's more and more competitive with these lack of barriers to entry and all of the ease at which you can start up a shop. So what we really kind of see is there's three shifts that are really happening in the market that we see are really driving this. And it has a lot to do with this always-on consumer. It's the death of the single-channel shopper and the digitization of the retail business model. So we talk about what this always-on consumer. This always-on consumer is really somebody who's digitally enabled. They move across channels pretty seamlessly. But most importantly, or maybe, is that what we used to talk about in retail was what was more important. Was it the brand on the door or the brand on the shelf? And it depended who you were. If you're a grocery store, primarily it was the brand on the shelf. If you're Abercrombie, it was the brand on the door. But in today's world, it's really actually about, with the social connections and all of that, it's really about the consumer cares about their brand, their own individual personal brand, and they put together their own portfolio of social connections, products, services that they'll engage with, and they create their own brand. And if you're part of that brand, then you've got relevance in their life, and if you're not part of their brand, then you're not. The second piece that this always-on consumer has really done is they've completely deconstructed the shopping process. And what I mean by that is that they've taken what was a very linear process in the past. You maybe found out a product on TV or in an advertisement. You went to the store, you browsed it, you compared it to other products. You purchased it there. If anything was wrong with it, you took it back to the store, you had it serviced. It was exceptionally linear. But what they've done now is the consumer themselves breaks the whole process down, and then in real time reconstructs it in any way that they want to, in their own customized way. So they can find out about product most any place, they can buy it across multiple channels, they can return it, they can get serviced on it in multiple ways, and it's all them driving how that gets put back together. And as a retail business, you better be able to actively and agilely be able to service each of those different places. The second piece that we really look at that's happening, right, is it's the death of the single channel shopper. The single channel shopper doesn't really exist anymore. And when you look at what is going on in the market, right, the winning retailers have already recognized it. They recognize that the shoppers they need and the shoppers that they want are the ones that are shopping across every component of their business. And when you think about winning retailers, and what this is basically saying as a winning retailer, just to make it clear, is anybody who has better same-store sales than the average is considered a winner, and those who have comp store sales that are below the average is considered not a winner. But anyway, 68% of these winning retailers, they look at it and they know that the omni-channel shopper is much more profitable than their single-channel shoppers. And then when they look at how do they want to serve them, the technologies that they're really looking at are how do I get my my commerce platforms in shape, and how do I get my order management platforms in shape. So then what it really leads to is this third piece, because I think sometimes when you think about the digital, and we talked a little bit about it this morning, you sometimes just think about the mobile device, you think about the screen that you're on for, on a website, that type of front-end component. But what's really important and what's really allowing a retailer to kind of agilely reconstruct these shopping processes is about digitizing the rest of the environment. And when you think about digitizing the rest of the environment, think about how do I get single view of customer? How do I wrap the analytics around that single view of the customer? And that powerfully gives me the way to be very personal with them, be able to be very tailored with it, get into this whole segment of one dynamic where I can really, as a retailer, really address you one-on-one and get you what you want, when you want it, how you want it. And then I can interact with you across the customer interaction then fits across all these mobile devices, all the online devices, inside the store, wherever it happens to be. But the customer interaction component, I've got to be able to digitize that across every aspect as well. Whether that means I'm going inside the store and I've got store associates that actually know what I may have browsed on the website, or I've got store associates that have the same type of accurate pricing information or product information that I might have on the web. All that's important in terms of being able to bring together that seamless, relevant experience. And then maybe even more importantly is then when I think about how to push it all the way back through the entire environment, we see a lot of stuff around. It's no longer sort of your supply chains, it's your demand-driven supply chain. You've got, it's much more about how fast can I operate in the back end, how good is my forecast, how good is my plan, how quickly can I really refresh my stores? Do I have it on there's no longer a 4 or a 6 season year. It's an all the time recycle of the floor sets. It's lots of different seasons throughout the year, and you've got to have a very seamless digital supply chain to get there. So I want to just point out a couple different areas that we're seeing some of the innovations that are going on in the market that just sort of point to people trying some things to get closer to customers. And one of the ones that we really looked at was with L'Oreal and this real-time customization that they do on the mobile device, whether that's taking your image and being able to test shades, test colors. But the idea being is that they've created a platform and they've created an application that engages the customer. It keeps them there longer, so it improves the ability to convert them later. But more importantly also is that it's grabbing a lot of the data, and what are they doing with the data? They're pushing it back into the systems in order to create personalization for those customers the next time they want to send them an ad, the next time they want to engage with them in the store or online. The other piece that's really coming in is around artificial intelligence and the chat bots. And we've talked a little bit about bots, but very specifically, you can go to Victoria's Secret, you can go to Sephora, you can go to H&M. Each of them has engaged and leveraged chatbots to keep you as a customer more engaged. You stay there longer, the higher conversion rates are there, and it's all being driven by automated artificial intelligence using bots in order to engage you and keep you there and give you advice, based on other consumers' behaviors. And I think we've seen a lot around the change of the actual business model. And when we think about when we see the change of the business model, just a decent example of taking my loyalty systems, taking my payment systems, and taking my order process, the way Starbucks put the three of them together to create a new convenient service for customers. But it's not just about the fact that I'm doing it on the mobile device. It's not just about the fact that I've integrated Apple Pay or I've integrated the way that I pay, but it's also pulling my loyalty information together, and it's all completely digitized and on the front end, and has really kind of flowed from the front all the way to the back in terms of how you order and how you process. And that's where you really are starting to get the value, and I think that's where most of us look at it and you get excited about the fact that it's very different than just, okay, well, I can pay with my mobile device. And then you've got companies like Walgreens who are out there using context, and primarily location services context. And this context can take you anywhere from being able to scan a prescription and order it, which is fairly standard, fairly simplistic. But then what it does is then it changes the way that it's going to interact with you, whether you're sitting in your home, whether you're driving near the store, or whether you're actually inside the store. It is going to change my messaging. It is going to change my promotion. It's going to change the way, ask me whether I want to pick up the prescription or not once I get into the store. But always constantly using that additional context about where you are and how I want to interact with you. So that's what we see is happening, with a lot of different companies out there, or a few different companies out there around really digitizing their business in the retail space. But I thought I would actually just take, just a few seconds to talk about, what we're doing with a couple of our customers. And just a couple of them in terms of the digital journey that we've been on with them over several years, and just to call out a few of the things that they're doing and that we're working with them on. And so with Kohl's, who's been a longtime customer of Zensar's and DCS, during this long digital journey, doing a lot of the things around omnichannel, like the buy online and the pickup store and some of the things that you expect right now, but driving those types of things, bringing in new payment processes, but integrating the loyalty systems as well, and putting together really a portfolio of programs that really ultimately ends up being into a digital transformation for the company. And what they've seen is by doing these things over the course of their digital journey, is seeing significant improvements on, especially in their online business, but in their online offline conversions as well, right? And so looking at it today, it's a $2.5 billion is running through there. You've got increases, of 30% year on year, and in your online business, and in general, also looking at when I see the buy online, pick up in store, the additional improvement in the store productivity as well, when you see that they're buying more when they go inside the stores. So along this digital journey, just figuring out what that portfolio and that roadmap of programs is and projects are, put it together, and ultimately you end up with a real transformational story around digital. So one of the other ones I just wanted to highlight is really another one that New York & Company is a place that we've also been working with for quite a long time as well. And they are also on a longer digital journey, and also started really with core e-commerce type of work that we've been doing with them, but now has really shifted as well to kind of roll out or to fill out the rest of the digital portfolio about what are we doing with them, how are they going to engage customers as well. And so one of the things we worked with them on was around their mobile interaction and how to create a more engaging mobile experience, how to get more personalization in that experience, really help the overall shopping process to, reduce the abandonment of the carts, and really improve the overall mobile conversion rates. And so going through, and creating sort of responsive mobile site, really incorporating a lot of best practices that we've seen in the marketplace and bringing that through, and of course fully integrating to the back ends, to create this seamless shopping experience for customers, has seen, significant increases in what they've seen in terms of, real business value that they've gotten out of it. Mobile sales increasing, well over 100%, conversion growing, 77. So just in looking at, the reason I wanted to bring up a couple of these clients is because when you think about the incremental programs or the incremental projects that are part of the longer-term digital transformation roadmap, I think those are some of the areas that when you look at it by itself, it may look like a smaller project, but it's all part of this digital transformation. And how do I really compete in this new marketplace? So anyway, I'm not going to go through these, but there's just a couple points I wanted to just sort of make. There are two areas that we're really getting a lot of, that retailers in particular are really hot about, right? And it's around the customer experience components. You'll hear a little bit more from Foolproof in a little bit, but in particular, the customer experience right now, a lot of the attention is being shifted to the front end and exactly how do I engage customers more effectively, how do I engage customers and create a better experience. And then the other piece of it is really this idea of getting into, thinking about when you think about what Amazon is doing and sort of creating their API-centric platforms and the microservices platforms, we're seeing a lot of activity going on in that space as well. We're really trying to customize and really develop those very specialized, customized commerce platforms as well. But those are two of the areas that we're seeing a lot of traction on today. And so really the three things that we, just to call out in terms of if you're looking for how you start, just looking at sort of customer experience assessments, thinking about omni-channel assessment, some of these assessments kind of give you the ability to get in there, understand the gap between you and the competitor, and then also give you an opportunity to build out the roadmap of these programs. So at the end, really just to try to sum up, right? It's the entire industry is being disrupted. Amazon's doing a lot of it, but in general, a lot of it has to do with the way technology is really embedded. When I think about retail over the last 20 odd years, it has never had the amount of technology prominence. It has never had as much importance placed on the technology space as it is today. It's sort of this great opportunity to be sort of at the center of that retail and technology environment, because in the past, retail's really been at the bottom of that list. It's been the last ones who've invested. Today, it's the first ones who are investing. It's the ones who are really being aggressive in terms of how to really engage and capture consumers. And so a lot of that's happening across all these different areas. So that's what our view of what's happening in retail, how we think we can help a lot of the retail clients out there, how we're really working with our different clients. I don't think we're really doing questions, but if we want to do any, we can certainly do them. Anything? Yeah.
With all these changes happening, a very quantifiable benefit to the, our customers, have you put some thoughts around how do we create continuity of business? Because, there's an opportunity comes, we work on it, it has a business benefit, and then it dies.
In terms of how we, I think what you do is you create these, when you get in and you create where the gaps are and you look at how you want to lay out what the roadmap looks like, it's all about continuously evolving and innovating on the roadmap. Most of the programs and projects, you're gonna keep moving them forward, and then you roll it back into that support and maintenance type of an environment. But in this space right now, it's really about continuing to kind of build on what you have. I think it's one of the reasons what you see is, and we talked, I think was talked about this morning, one of the reasons you see this whole idea of the monolithic application, being set to the side a bit, right? Because in this space, if I want to go change my shopping cart, or I wouldn't change my shopping cart, but if I want to go add a new feature to my commerce platform, and I want to get that done before holiday, I don't want to have to be finished back in September. I want to be able to do that rapidly, and I want to do that right up until I get to holiday and continue to add features and capabilities much more rapidly. If I'm in a big monolithic environment, I can't do that quite as well. So I think that's why you really see a lot of the movement towards kind of breaking up these monolithic platforms and being much more tailored and streamlined and more agile about how you can do that.
A more generic retail question, John. There was a time when they said that brick and mortar was dead completely. Everything was going to be online. Well, it hasn't died.
Right.
Kohl's does equal amount of business online as it does in its stores. It certainly has gone down. And now we hear that Amazon has a brick and mortar presence. So is it coming back full circle? What are you seeing?
I think first, the stores aren't going to die. We will see more balance between online and offline going on. But the reason I think people talk about stores dying is because there was so much overinvestment in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right? There's so much investment in real estate. It was all about how many stores can I open, how fast can I open them. I need to be in every single mall across the world. That is going away, of course. That is going to shrink down. You're going to see a lot more showrooming. You see it today, a lot more showrooms types of stores, so big experience types of places where you may sell, you may sell inside the store, but they're perfectly happy to kind of let you go buy online as well. But it's not going to die inside the store. People like to go places. They like to touch. They like to feel. People like to try things on. Shopping is a social event. So it's not going to die, but it's certainly going to rationalize the store footprints. Okay. All right, thank you. If anybody wants to talk about it later, I'm always more than happy to talk about this space. Thank you.